This console explicitly indicates 64 on the front of the machine. This is the Nintendo 64, Nintendo's final cartridge-based home console, which was released in 1996. Despite being essentially obsolete by 1996 standards, given that both the Sega Saturn and the Sony PlayStation were CD-based gaming systems, the Nintendo 64 should not be disregarded. There are a ton of excellent games on the N64 that are still being released online for the Nintendo Switch, as well as many of them being released on the Nintendo Wii as part of the Nintendo Wii Shop channel. The point is that despite its relatively short lifespan, the N64 has left a legacy that continues to this day. Let's start with the system itself. The first thing you'll notice is that it has 4 controller ports right on the front, which means you don't need to buy an extra multi-tap or any other device to play 4 players, unlike the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation. That's a significant advantage over its opponents. On the left, there is a basic power switch that moves up and down, and on the right, there is a reset button. Quite self-explanatory. You can place a jumper pack or an expansion pack in this small memory expansion door right here. The expansion pack is necessary for some games, such as Perfect Dark, although it is not required for the majority of them. This gray door right here is where the cartridge goes, and I appreciate how it has a small door to keep dust out. The best part is that because it's a cartridge-based gaming system, there is no optical laser to damage. As a result, this system will survive for a long time. It has an external power supply on the rear and an AV cable on the left that utilizes the same cable as the Super Nintendo, making it interchangeable. That is something I really enjoy about the system, since it allows you to utilize the same cable on both the Super Nintendo and the GameCube. The controller is a fascinating component on this system, since it is one of the oddest looking controllers ever manufactured, yet it is incredibly distinctive. You can put a memory pack on the back to save games, and select titles such as Star Fox 64 will have a rumble pack that you place into the controller to simulate the feeling of flying a spaceship. Of course, you have your standard D-pad, but there is also an analog stick in the center of the controller, as well as a B and A button on the right, similar to the NES controller. The most interesting feature is the inclusion of the C buttons, which perform different things depending on the game, and this was eventually adapted into the C stick on the GameCube controller. You have your shoulder buttons on the top, which are pretty self-explanatory, and your Z button is on the rear behind the analog stick. To put it simply, this is the trigger button. So while it isn't one of my favorite controllers ever made, it is a really unique one that needs to be acknowledged. Let us acknowledge it. I have a large collection of N64 games, including Star Fox 64, Doom 64, Mario Kart 64, Super Smash Bros., and Killer Instinct Gold, among many more. Oh, I also have Ocarina of Time and GoldenEye 007 too. Many of the games on this system appear to be of extremely high quality when compared to its competitors, the Sega Saturn and the Sony PlayStation. The system's main disadvantage is that because it is a cartridge-based system, it does not utilize FMVs like the PlayStation and Saturn. Instead, it frequently employs its own in-game graphics or still images. Even with that, many of the games look fantastic on this system. Doom 64, which has been re-released in HD and 60 frames per second, is one of the finest horror games on the system in my view, although I still miss the original N64 version. And yes, some claim that Nintendo systems are only for children. Yeah, right. Keep in mind that this was during the early days of 3D action-adventure games, so what you're witnessing here with Super Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is an era when 3D action-adventure games weren't yet polished, but are still regarded as some of the best games ever made. I grew up with snowboarding games on the PlayStation such as Cool Boarders, but 1080 Snowboarding is another intriguing N64 game. It focuses on racing rather than doing tricks. I do have a controversial opinion that 1080 Avalanche on GameCube was superior, but I digress. Jeez, why do I keep falling over a lot? This is bull. Mario Kart 64 is my favorite racing game on this system. It's a lot of fun, reminiscent of Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, but updated by 96 standards. This game enrages me at times. Killer Instinct Gold is the best fighting game on the system. I adore the music, the colors, and the gameplay. It's a visual feast. Don't mind me, I'm terrible at this game. Finally, my favorite game on the console is Star Fox 64, which is essentially a remake of the original Star Fox on Super Nintendo. It's a very replayable game. I love the music, the graphics, and the really addictive gameplay. I'd gladly put this game on any day of the week and play it as many times as I want without getting bored. F-Zero X gets a special mention in this video since not only is it one of the greatest games on the N64, but it also plays at 60 frames per second, which is rare for the N64. I swear, if somebody spams Falcon Punch in the comments, I will slay you with my Master Sword. Ultimately, the N64 is one of my favorite systems of all time, as I grew up playing it alongside the Sony PlayStation. It was my first Nintendo system, and it's the reason I'm still a huge Nintendo fan. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, many N64 games are being re-released to the Nintendo Switch Online, so you technically don't need the N64 to play these games, but I think it would be cool if you did. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just having some fun with this thing. In all seriousness, even if you've never owned one before, this is an excellent console to have in your retro collection. I wholeheartedly endorse it. That's about everything I have to say about this system. Let me know what you guys think of the N64 in the comments below. Share your memories, things of that nature. And I'll see you guys in the next review. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you want to see more reviews like this. And leave a like on this video. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.